OTB Sports Radio.
Yeah, very good morning to you. Welcome along this Thursday morning to OTB AM. Kieran Donaghy is here, filling in with a plum for it's the Kerry roll, we call it these days.
We'll take any role we get.
Are you tempted to go to Japan at all? Is this like a...
Do you know what? We had tickets through work, but there's just so much going on with sport, basketball and county championship and stuff kicking off, and we're really busy, so we myself and Colin made the decision to move it on.
That's a pity.
Yeah, it is a pity, yeah.
It's far away.
Oh, it is far away, yeah. No, we're going to try and get down. We had quarter-final tickets,
right.
being confident as we are.
Yeah, proper order.
And some rugby clubs we're dealing with got the tickets for the Scotland and the Japan game, I think. But we do work down there. Our company's down in Nanjing, so we're going to get a bit of work in there and get back over to Japan on the way home.
Right, great.
But we're just too busy, too much going on.
That's because the basketball kicked back into gear yesterday.
Yeah, basketball kicks back into gear with the season launch at the start of the year and the cup draw. So we got local rivals Killorglin in away out there, which will be like heading to Galatasaray. It'll be a bit of fun. The games last year were brilliant. They beat us inside in Tralee, and we went out and beat them on our run in the second part of the season to win the league. We beat them in a titanic game, really, and their star player Daniel Jacobitis got ejected out of the game late on after a feisty encounter with our equally as feisty captain Darren O'Sullivan. So he's actually coming and joined us now, Daniel. So
and they're all buddies. It's like look, you know.
Yeah, I think we call ourselves the Lurk Squad. It's on the back of our shooting tops this year because we're a bunch of lurks. All of us are a bit kind of wired different in all types of ways. So when Daniel joined, we were like, oh yeah, you'll fit in okay. Few ejections, few fights last season. You'll fit in with the Tralee Warriors perfectly. Yeah, so no, they had a great launch up there. Our two Americans were up there. Keith Jumper, a guy we had last season who we brought back, and John Lawton, a point guard from New York that we've brought over as well. So exciting times ahead. We're defending champions, so it's game one is Saturday night in Tralee. Tickets going on sale at 4:00, so queues out the door in the local Garvey store again.
That's right.
So no.
Lurk is what's the word?
Lurk, yeah, kind of lurky would be, I don't know, is it a Kerry word but like if you're a bit of a lurk, you're just a bit strange, a bit mad, a bit weird, all kind of rolled into one.
Not in a bad way though.
Not in a bad way, no.
Who knows?
Yeah, we found it a good kind of thing that we kind of started getting going with ourselves last year is to bring that lurkness out of ourselves when you know, to go to the edge and have each other's back and stuff like that. So it was a nice little thing that we got going, and the few new guys that we've brought in will have to slot into that system. Was
that something that you got better at as time went on, or worse at? Bringing your inner lurk out. Better. You learn to controlled aggression is a very good thing, and you know, I even listened to Johnny Cooper going up the road last night, and you know, I could tell that discipline is a big thing with him, but discipline is important, but also playing right on the edge is equally as important to him. So it's getting that fine line right, and he was a bit unlucky obviously in the first final, a few fouls, and next thing he's kind of walking to the sideline going, she's a red card. Yeah. Hasn't got one in a while. I would say a big thing in their dressing room is trying not to get red cards, but to test everybody's pulse as much as possible, which is where you need to be really in modern day sport. I think you need to be right at the pitch of it, but just don't, it's the reactionary red cards that I think managers these days can't stand for. Yeah. And I would say Jim would be very much on that level of the hero, kind of throw back an elbow, or some fella says something to you and you react with a slap. You know, it's take it right to the edge and play right there, but don't go over it, and that's where kind of sports need to be. So yeah, I think as my career went on, I got better at handling it. But when you're the aggressor in the situation, it's always easier. It's when you're not the aggressor and you're kind of just standing there and something is all up in your face, that's when you kind of react. Yeah. And it's the reactions are the ones that the referee see.
The referee always sees, and every red card that we got in Kerry for years was because of a fella hopping into us non-stop or talking to us for 70 minutes, and eventually you kind of go, you know, that's the reaction. It's quite normal and healthy, but you
and was it a group effort to say stop doing it, or did you all have to go away individually and learn those lessons because you've been sent off at some stage?
Yeah, I think you know, something that we kind of never fully mastered, but that you try to master. But it's really hard. You can talk about it and you can prepare for it all you want, but it's when the game is going against you, you're in the middle of a tight match, and there's a fella that says something, maybe out of left field that you weren't ready for. If you're in a bar and someone says something to you about a family member or something, you're going to react, and that's people are always looking to kind of test you in every way to see if they can take you out of their game, and they'll say it's all love and war, when the game is going on, it's grand, but it's something that I think as sports people, it's how can you try and test your man's pulse or rattle his cage as much as you can. By being the aggressor, you're in control and you're seeing if he reacts, and there's reaction with a red card, but there's reaction in getting the ball and being so worked up that you snatch at a shot to try and shut him up.
Which is exactly what they want.
Exactly. Yeah. So it's we had that going on last year with the basketball team, as in that we were playing in a very aggressive manner, to the point of view when we played Marion in that game to win the league, the double header. Their coach came out in an article in the Independent today. I was going up into the game, reading the paper, and
calling on the refs to ref you properly.
Calling on the refs to ref you properly. I remember you got a good bit of joy out of that the following shot clock. But yeah, that it was kind of like, but that was the way I was playing, to kind of lead the line for our team. But we'd loads of fellas. We've Paul Dick, a guard that we've had with us the last few years in Belfast, who's really good at that kind of stuff. Owen Quigley, Darren O'Sullivan, the guy who got Daniel Jacobaitis kicked out of that game. His natural instinct is to push you right to the max. Like in training, every player in the Warriors team has thrown Darren O'Sullivan off them in a training session and grabbed him by the jersey or squared up to him, because that's the only way he knows how to play, and he's perfect at it because it's not something that he puts on. That's just the way he goes about it. He's like me in essence. We know skill levels might be through the roof or whatever, but we know if you approach it in a certain way, that you can do a lot with it.
Yeah, and that sets the tone of training, and exactly.
He's our captain, and if he's going that hard in a training match, you've no real excuse not to go as hard in training, and certainly not in a big game.
Okay, I want to move on because we'll come back to the basketball a little bit later on when we're chatting about the papers. Ahead of Ireland's World Cup opener against Scotland, which is now this weekend. It's been 4 years since the quarter-final against Argentina, and every single moment of Irish rugby has been building towards this weekend, so no pressure, lads. But anyway, there's been another big story being talked about finally in South Africa. Here's Keith Earls and CJ Stander talking about the issue of doping in the sport of rugby from yesterday's press conference. Have a look.
CJ, there's been a lot of talk about doping in rugby, and especially back home in your native South Africa. I mean, is it something that would have been talked about a lot when you were younger? Is it something you would have seen in your career when you were in South Africa?
No, I think when I was younger I was out on the sticks, so the only thing we actually knew there was farming and what else we were doing, so I never really came across a lot. I think it's something probably if you want to go look for it and you want to do it, then probably it's open to get there. But I think I don't think it's a great thing to do at all. I think the sport is a great sport, and the better we can keep it clean is great. And I think in Ireland anyway, they look after all of those things and make sure everyone is on track, So again, it's something I think needs to get out of the sport.
Did you notice it at Craven Week? Because it has been a real problem since they started to investigate Craven Week in the last 2 years.
Yeah, I played Craven Week probably, 11 years ago, so I think most you get out there is the eggs you got in the morning for the protein, so I think...
It wasn't in evidence back then?
No, nothing. I think they was quite on top of it, and everyone was... I think I was tested when I played Craven Week, probably out of the 3 games, I think 3 days, so they're quite on top of it, so I think it's well looked after, and I think probably the last few years they probably just had more testers out, and I don't really know what happened in the last few years in the Craven Week. Sorry about that.
It's almost like the kids are so desperate to get picked up because it's such a national sport. Is that almost where the temptation comes from, do you think?
No, I think...
Bigger, what I mean?
Mate, I think it's just again, if you want to be the best at what you can do, just make sure you train hard and you play well and make sure what you can do with your body, and that's what you got. If you want to go down that path, I don't stand for it all, and I think it's the wrong thing to do. But I think it's just influence from the outside, maybe. But that's not, I don't know.
Do you think that the way rugby's gone, bigger is better these days? There's more money on offer for players as well. There's bigger professional contracts. that it was almost going towards this way where there is a bigger incentive than ever to perhaps find a different way to succeed?
No, I think it's about talent and ability, and sustainability, how people can perform and how long they can perform over a few months and a few games. Look, I think I was always told that was too small, and I just made sure, again, I just train hard and train well, and then make sure I look after my body so I can get selected and work on those things. You can't get bigger. If you need to get taller, if they want you to get taller, you're not going to get that taller, so just make sure you do everything that you can do on the pitch, and look, the rest of it, we're talking a lot about this now. You can't really, I don't think you get taller and that bigger, you can probably just get stronger, but
Keith,
get stronger in the gym.
About the greater incentivization than ever to perhaps dope, that there's more on offer now, bigger is better and more money?
No, I think rugby goes through phases of small and fast, big and fast, big and slow and powerful. For me, it's all in the head. You just work with what your parents gave you, what genetics your parents gave you. As CJ said there, get in the gym and work hard. But I think what distance the world class players from the rest is what's going on in the mind.
That's Keith Earls and CJ Stander at the Irish press conference yesterday, talking about the issue of doping in Irish sport. Before we get into the back pages, though, here's something that you're not going to find in them. Brian O'Driscoll had some very interesting comments about doping at our Heineken Roadshow in Limerick last night. Have a look.
I think the positive test from Deontay, certainly set alarm bells off, because it's not kids, it's not Craven Week, it's not also-ran players. It's a guy that was a focal point of their team last year, Breakthrough Player of the Year on the international stage. So when someone that close to the World Cup squad, or who was clearly going to be a star of the World Cup, tests positive, I think it's not unreasonable, for the world to kind of go, hang on, what's happening there? So is it an isolated incident? Are there more to come? Where is he getting, his performance-enhancing drugs? So I think it's reasonable to ask all of those questions. There was a picture posted of the South African rugby team during the week, and they're in phenomenal shape, and lots of teams will be in incredible shape. But what hangs with those sort of pictures is that positive drugs test. When people are looking phenomenal, immediately others put two and two together. Now, none of those players that were in that picture have tested positive. I'm sure they've passed a multitude of tests. I'm certainly not suggesting that any of them have doped. But the fact of the matter is, one of their teammates has. So that's what's created this cloud and brought it, in 2 days out of a World Cup. And it's not the sort of thing that we want to be talking about. But in some ways, it's been brought upon themselves. I think it's far less prevalent at elite level because there is so much testing, and that the players know that. I think the area of concern is at the underage levels, at 16, 17 years of age, and I don't know what it's like in the UK, but in Ireland we don't have testing at schoolboy level, which for me, I don't understand. Because if I was a parent of a 15 or 16-year-old skinny kid that is being pressurized into, or being told that they're not going to make it because they're not big enough, and there's a temptation and there's something presents itself, I would want my kid to be tested. I would want to discourage it, and I think they're going to have to come down with harsher bans as well, I think.
That's a key point, that we don't test our schools players. Technically, the IRFU don't control the schools game in Ireland. The thing about Craven Week, which is this underage week in South Africa, at least they are testing. At least they are finding out that the players at that age group are prone to doping, are likely to dope if they're if the conditions are right. I'm obviously not suggesting that everybody at Craven Week is doping, but in Ireland we have no clue. We don't know. We're assuming that little Johnny is playing schools rugby and is not going to be tempted to dope because he's little Johnny, as opposed to looking at the kids in other countries where at the same age group, 3 clicks online and you can find out exactly what it is that's going to make you be better at the thing that you're lacking, and you can get it delivered to any kind of drop box not to name anyone in particular.
Yeah.
But like, it's really easy just to get that stuff delivered and you drive around and pick it up. We don't know in Ireland because we don't test in schools rugby. And Brian O'Driscoll's calling for it now, and I guarantee you that's going to start a debate.
Yeah, it's he's right in what he says in a way that if you did have a youngster that was tempted, the other thing then is if they're 16 or 17, you know, if they fail the drug test, how is that handled? Is it being announced to the media?
Yeah, I think that's
you know, is it something that goes back to the school and just a ban is handed out and it's handled?
Yeah. You could do that though. You could definitely, suddenly that player doesn't play schools rugby anymore, right? And the parents know and the school knows and that's it. I mean, obviously.
And probably other people, if he's fit and healthy, kind of start going, hold on a minute, why isn't he playing?
Got a hamstring injury.
Yeah, it'd be a long hamstring injury now because, you know, I think if, you know, for youngsters that, you're right, they could be tempted because it's a game now where we watch it every week and, you know, the bigger and stronger you are, you know, the more successful you're going to be. Keith Earls made the point there, you know, it was all about being fast but really and truly now, like, the game is about being kind of both. It's about being big, huge and strong and quick. Yeah. And there's certain things out there that, you know, obviously that people can go to get that shape and size and power. And, you know, as CJ says, you're not going to get it on a farm, but, you know, you can do it. And it is scary, and it's something that they possibly have to look at. The schools rugby game is big, but, like, it's more important that these guys are trying to get onto provincial underage setups to go live this great professional life and go on and represent Ireland in years to come. And, you know, I don't think anybody in Ireland wants anybody involved in Ireland that for 2 years when they were younger cheated, because that's what it is. It's you can dress it up as what you call it or whatever you want. It's cheating, and you know, they have to. I don't know. I presumed the rugby in Ireland looked after the schools game, so whatever that crossover is, and someone needs to start looking after it, because
technically they don't have jurisdiction now. If those players are playing schools rugby and they get selected for an academy, then they're part of the IRFU testing. So, yeah. But that doesn't mean that there's not a school out there who has a team who one of the lads who isn't good enough to play for the academy is telling his mates who also aren't good enough to play for the academy, here, we can all do this, we're not going to get tested.
Yeah.
It's a like
and to be honest,
no risk.
Maybe it's just the optimist in me, but I don't see much of that going on. But, you know, again, we don't know.
That's the thing. It's definitely going on in South Africa, right?
Yeah,
are they so different
proven.
Human beings from us? So that was Craig Chalmers on the couch sitting beside Brian O'Driscoll last night. His son doped, and he's spoken about it, and his son got caught doping. So I'm really interested in that conversation and seeing the rest of that conversation. It'll air tonight.
Yeah, we look forward to that
on the radio, and we'll be putting it up on our social channels as well. But so he is a parent who's gone through that, and like,
must be tough as a parent.
I'd say it's pretty bad. But wouldn't you rather know than not? Because, like, the stuff that they're buying is junk from the internet that hasn't gone through rigorous testing, that isn't FDA approved, that isn't always there, and you don't know how much he's putting in.
Yeah.
Like, oh, look, am I supposed to do the whole thing, or is it like is it a dose now? Is it a dose in 3 days? Like, what is it?
Yeah, it's scary.
Yeah, so I think I'd rather know than not, but some parents probably don't. Here's what's coming up on the show today. We've got a great show lined up for you. Obviously, it is the final shot clock of the day coming your way, final shot clock of the year coming your way at 8:05. We'll be back over to Japan to talk to our man in Japan, Owen Sheehan. Going to talk New Zealand with Gregor Paul, the Scottish-born but New Zealand-based journalist. He's going to talk to us about how New Zealand they've been rope-a-doping us for the last 18 months with their mediocre performances, allowing us to beat them and become world number one. Hiding in plain sight was one of the headlines. Back down in Japan, sports news, and then the Champions League was filled. Big night in the Champions League last night, where Real Madrid had their asses handed to them by Paris Saint-Germain, who didn't even have any of the good players playing. So, right, let's take it to the newspapers. I'm going to start this morning with the Times. Farrell foresees game of defence and attack. Here's the headline over the Andy Farrell press conference stuff. And Jean Klein, it's a great honour to represent my adopted country. At this stage, Jean Klein will be playing for Ireland in the World Cup, and whatever the rules are, however he got there at this point, I imagine most Irish rugby fans are going to be behind him whenever he comes on. Yeah,
he got there the same way as Bundy, and you know, I think, you know, he's going to have an Irish jersey on, and I don't see anybody hoping he drops the ball or knocks it on.
No.
Although if he does knock it on, I can see people going, Jesus, that fella.
Yeah, he certainly has a target on his back too. Bullish Hog in Scotland primed to make it really big in Japan. So Gavin Kumsky is with the Scottish team. Scotland are good. We've been like, Scotland, sure, we always beat them. But we don't. We definitely don't. We certainly don't always beat them first up. It could be 21-0.
It's worrying me that game is small, but just how unpredictable and how good they can be at times. But this Daily Star has gone with your Bard, UEFA tell Delaney he's not invited to top brass meeting. And another one at the top there, Cooper, we're not robots. So Johnny Cooper has told Dublin critics that Jim Gavin's players are not robots.
That's the interview you did last night off the ball, just to get the plug in there.
Yeah. No, it's a good piece. Obviously he's saying that people think that they're just this kind of machine, but do you know what it was? People have, and probably rightly so over the 4 years, But I think this Dublin team were so confident in their ability and the players around them that they said, we'll celebrate, lads, when we get to 5 in a row, we'll celebrate properly. Until then, All Irelands are great, 3 in a row is great, 4 in a row is great, but other teams have done it. Nobody's done 5 in a row, and when we do it, we're going to celebrate it. And that's why, people even reading into, is Gavin gone, is Cluxton gone because he walked around in the parade. I really do say, they said they didn't, but I could see, that in their group going, we've got it, we're good enough, let's go do this 5 in a row. They would have realised it, after the 2 or 3 in a row, and I was delighted to see them celebrate and show them emotions. Kilkenny in the interview afterwards, Jim Gavin bringing his dad into the press conference, I thought it was all good stuff, and I think actually, we needed that out of this Dublin team, because that's Johnny saying we're not robots, but like we were saying, but you're not really celebrating these wins. These are All Ireland wins, and you're kind of not overly celebrating them, and there's something to be overly celebrated, because these Dublin boys haven't lost one, but they're tough games when you lose them, so just enjoy the ones you win as much as you can, and enjoy the role they're on and the team they're on. Yeah,
and a couple of draws along the way suggests that they weren't handy. The Indo, the back page this morning, Larmour set to face Scots as injuries for Schmidt's hand. So the news coming from the Ireland camp is that obviously, despite the fact they put him up for press yesterday, Keith Earls won't be fit, Rob Kearney won't be fit. We know that Robbie Henshaw is gone as well. So it looks like Andrew Conway will start at fullback and Jordan Larmour will start on the wing. Still not quite sure who's going to be the centre partnership, if it's automatically going to be Gary Ringrose who comes into the team, or if Chris Farrell gets in ahead of him. I thought that maybe there would have been a chance for Ringrose to start in the wing, but we'll talk about that a little bit later on. And there's the picture of Gareth Bale with the ball brushing off his arm. I don't know if you saw Gareth Bale's goal last night, you might have been in the car. But basically the ball brushes off his arm like that. He flicks it again and whacks it into the top corner to make it 2-1. And suddenly it's game on. Yeah. It was an absolute wonder strike. But no. Ball brushed off your arm, no goal.
Yeah. It's there's going to be a year of that, even the Chelsea penalty as a Chelsea fan. I was like, no, there can't be a penalty. He's right there. And then I was like, oh, geez, hold on. No, there was a few Emmy penalties given last year. Yeah. But the Irish Examiner has gone again with Klein, window of opportunity, enforcer Klein, unfazed by selection backlash. So, yeah, and there's a one down at the bottom here, boiling point. Are bullish Ireland peaking just at the right time? So have we learned from the past, and maybe those results this year were all being held for what we're going when we go out and win this World Cup, Jar.
Yeah, so after England beat us, it was like, geez, we're not going to get out of the group. Now we're like, that was all grand.
Yeah, exactly.
We'll see, I guess. The Times London bookmaker blew whistle on Howley. This is the story that has convulsed World Rugby in the last couple of days. So we still don't know the precise nature of the accusations that Rob Howley is facing. But we do now know, according to the Times anyway, that it was a bookmaker who reported Rob Howley to the Welsh Rugby Union initially. I think that's how that goes. So, and then the Welsh Rugby Union had to send him home. So the bookmaker made an approach to them. They got a bit more information. The bookmaker came back and said, this is the full details of what we think has happened. And at that point, the Welsh Rugby Union, their CEO, flew to Japan, met with Rob Howley, and took the decision that they were going to send him home, and the investigation will continue. I think Jack Cohen was in one of the papers today saying that they've been spoken to about this, but it's a mad story that they were like, we all kind of knew not supposed to be betting on ourselves.
Yeah.
It's a relatively straightforward thing, so...
Yeah. Like, if it's that big, like, obviously it's the go. I was kind of in my head, I was saying, was it something like that, or was he backing on games this year or other games with other teams at home while he was watching France and Ireland? Oh, I'll throw a few bob in.
Yeah,
Ireland,
so...
I fancy them, but when you start putting it on yourself or possible situations in games that you're involved in, it's... Yeah, you can't be at it. The Irish Daily Mail, full backing. Conway set to land Kearney's 15 jersey for Scotland opener, which I'm happy with. I think he's an outstanding full back and he's got that bit of spark. He's really good under high ball, so that's a good one. In the top there, Poch Fury at Spurs flops. So disappointment there, obviously, for Pochettino that his charges threw another 2-goal lead.
Spursy,
yeah.
It's not fair now that you're still calling Spursy, but...
I think, yeah, exactly, yeah.
It was Spursy, though.
It'll just get thrown at them if they...
Until they win the league.
Yeah, and that could be a while with the calibre of players we have. The sun has gone with it's all gone down the plan. So Poch tears into his stars. So I like this kind of... managers do this sometimes, and I always wonder, is it the right way to go?
You've been in dressing rooms. Have you ever been in a dressing room where you're watching on the TV in the corner going, hang on, he's over this?
Yeah.
No TVs in the dressing room in Croke Park, is there?
There is, yeah.
There is.
I don't think we're getting live streams of interviews and stuff, though. I think there might be games of the game beforehand that's on before you or whatever, but they normally get shut off the minute you go into the dressing room. Kit men will have it off in 2 seconds, but yeah, look, it's something that Mourinho's done in the past. Ferguson tore into his players the odd time, but it's something that's kind of, I'd say, if it's done very rarely,
yeah,
it might be okay and it might get a reaction.
Pochettino doesn't seem very happy, does he? Generally, for the last you put the transfer window together where he's like, I don't know why you're asking me, I have nothing to do with transfers. I'm clearly, they shouldn't call me manager, they should call me head coach. All I do is coach the team. I've no involvement in and then it's like a signing happens and he seems a little bit happier, and now it's like, they didn't play to my system today. It's all a bit like he needed to get the job last summer that he wanted, whatever that job is.
Yeah.
It feels to me like this is coming to an end.
Yeah, possibly. There was a lot of big hitters out there looking for him, and he's kind of found himself back with relatively the same squad. And but look, they were that close to winning the Champions League last year. So
many teams got close. Like Valencia under Rafa Benitez got really close. And
he's young.
He is young, but
he's young, and.
But does he do it with Spurs? Is my fundamental question.
Yeah, probably the biggest bone of contention for him is the coffers. Like, come on, Daniel, let's go.
Yeah, spend a bit of cash.
Yeah, spend a bit of cash. We're Champions League finalists. Do you want to do one?
I'll do one here. The Guardian, the back page of the Guardian here is. It's the Spurs team looking a bit peeved after they've conceded, and it was pretty quick as well. It was by the 54th minute, so doing it the hard way. Spurs throw away 2-goal lead as Champions League bid begins with disappointing draw in Greece. And rugby betting warning, England players told to ditch phones before World Cup games. England players and staff have been told not to use their mobile phones on World Cup match days amid the Wales betting scandal that has rocked the tournament in Japan. It's not the greatest start to a World Cup, is it? Massive doping scandal, an imminent typhoon potentially ruining the opening weekend of the tournament. And one of the most prominent coaches of one of the genuine contenders sent home for a betting scandal. It's not great.
Yeah. Again, the Mirror have gone with Greeky. Poch accuses Spurs of having no fight as they throw away 2-goal lead in Athens. He's attacked his accusation against these Tottenham players of lacking fight to kill off Olympiacos in their Champions League opener. So again, calling out these players for a lack of fight.
Yeah, that's not a great look, is it?
No, but I don't remember him doing much of that before. So maybe he's trying to, maybe they've been a bit sloppy at the start of the season. Maybe there's a bit of hangover from the Champions League. He's trying to. Maybe he's had this at them in training and it's not working, so he feels like maybe a public lashing might say to the players, okay, we gotta get going here and we gotta pick up our socks and get a result. And sport is funny, momentum is funny, so if they can start getting a few wins, you could hear the end of Pochettino slamming his players and accusing them of no fight.
The Examiner there on page 9 has great stuff about the launch of the basketball yesterday. So we should talk about the Super League and what your expectations are for the Super League this year and how far it can progress.
Yeah, I think it's. I think the league is obviously getting more attention as the years go on, because I think basketball is becoming more and more into people's lives. I think a lot of kids are getting a lot of basketball now through their phones. And I think on Saturday nights in halls all around the country, you've got the best Irish players and good foreign players that are coming over from America who are exciting to watch and who can play the game. And if you're a basketballer that wants to make it and you're a teenager or a kid, they want to go to the games now and see them. It's the closest they can get. And this season is going to be really exciting. Temple Oak, who've been very strong the last few years, have gotten stronger. They've teamed up with Griffiths College, who were with Swords Thunder last year, who folded. Marion are always going to UCD. Marion are always inside there with the college. They've good backing as well. The fallout from Thunder has been interesting because they had a good core of Irish guys. So if their team goes out of the league, they got to find other places to go. So Isaac Westbrooks, who's a great player, his dad was Jerome Westbrooks, right, one of the greatest of all time, to come over here. Isaac is that leader, that gritty point guard, classy player. He's gone to Leicester, right, which would have been, he would have played with them at the start of his career as well. So Charlie Coombs and Kev Lacey, two other great players that were with Thunder, have gone to St. Vincent's in Dublin, or DCU Saints as they're called now. So they've gotten stronger that way, which is interesting.
It's obviously disappointing that so Swords is a massive population base. It's disappointing that they couldn't sustain a team there, but sometimes for leagues to progress, the right thing is for powerful teams to emerge so that you can have 5 or 6 really good teams.
Yeah, and I think that's what we had last year, and I think we're not going to be far off of this year is in teams. We played games up in Swords, and yes, there's a big community up there, but their atmosphere was dead. There was no crowd enticed into the game, or they did great things now. Actually, a really interesting thing that we learned off them is they had a collection. They told us to bring kind of toys with us. Right. They were sending it out to Africa, Christmas or whatever, and really interesting. And we took that home back to Tralee, and we had a night in ourselves where we asked everybody that comes to our games to bring something, and we'd send it out. So, getting the crowd to the game and having an atmosphere in the game, I think, is very important for the league. And it's if you're a youngster and you go to a game that has atmosphere and it has lights out, smoke machines, loud music, commentating on the game to get the crowd going, and you try and figure out a way, how do we entice people to the game? Do we allow all our members to allow their kids in for free and just ask the parents to pay? But I think for the league to keep going on the trajectory it's going, I think that's a big thing we have to really work on. So, sponsorship and people talking about the Irish Super League is important, and he did great work last year in it. And the more outlets that talk about it, maybe sponsors are more willing to get involved, which is very important for our game, because it costs money to fly these Americans over, to put them up, to pay them every week. Yeah. It's Ireland's biggest indoor sport, but it was huge on the radar 30 years ago, and it's starting that climb back up now. And but it's a costly business, so we need sponsors, and to entice sponsors in. When you approach them and they go, okay, what am I getting for my buck? And you're kind of going,
where's my coverage?
Yeah, where's my coverage? The Star newspaper covered the league. They've got a big spread in it every Wednesday and a build up on Saturdays about it. But I think we need all the media just to give it a touch every Monday and let people know the scores, and let people know that we're Garvey's Tralee Warriors and Killester or Pro Bill Killester, and if that's been called out, it makes it easier for us to go knocking on these people's doors to get money, because if we don't have money, we can't have a league. The Hula Hoops sponsor the National Cup, but we've no sponsor for the National Super League.
Right.
So, again, Basketball Ireland, if they had a bit of support in that, maybe they could help the clubs, go down an avenue of getting more people into games? How do we, help them promote their games, help them make this show a bit more than it is?
It's like a self-fulfilling prophecy.
Correct. It's a knock. Exactly. It's a knock-on effect, and they do great work. Like Basketball Ireland online have won awards every year over the last 3 years. They do. Mary Maguire does unbelievable work inside there. Her online presence is great. The banter between teams is brilliant. So that the Twitter accounts of teams is fascinating. DCU Saints been really good on top of that list. UCD Marion very good. So banter before games, even though they're playing each other, it's good to see that the clubs kind of building it up before the games. So just get your youngsters that are interested in basketball, get them out to the sport. Their local team is important, I think.
Yeah, no, for sure, and we'll definitely be talking about it as the season progresses. So 8:06 this morning, the Boyle Sports World Grand Prix of Darts returns to City West Convention Centre from the 6th to the 12th of October. All this week on OTB AM, with thanks to the PDC, we're giving you the chance to win the ultimate darting experience. You and a guest will win 2 VIP tickets to the Boyle Sports World Grand Prix final, plus a night stay at the City West Hotel, including breakfast on Saturday the 12th of October. Tickets can be purchased at ticketmaster.ie. Just search darts, and we have daily prizes of tickets for the semi-final on Friday, October the 11th to give away. To enter, share the stream wherever you're watching, or if you're listening on offtheball.com or the Go Loud app, you can send us a screen grab on Twitter. Today's question is, who won the PDC World Grand Prix of Darts in 2016? We're going to be back with Shot Clock after this quick break.
OTB AM. This is OTB Sports Radio.
The Sport Ireland campus Blanchardstown is the home of Irish sport, not just for our athletes but for you in the community. Check out our amazing offers for families with kids camps, sport academies and birthday parties. Or for adults, why not join our gym with a 50-metre pool? Or your club, school, friends can book one of our world-class indoor or outdoor facilities, including our athletics track, soccer, basketball or badminton courts and many more. Check us out on sportirelandcampus.ie.
Join Bruce Betting now for a risk-free first bet up to €100. That's right. New Irish accounts can enjoy a risk-free first bet up to €100. So if your first bet loses, we'll refund your stake with a free bet. Now that's giving you more. Bruce Betting. In store, online and now on your phone. T's and C's apply. Please gamble responsibly. See dunlewy.net.
OTB AM.
All right, you're very welcome along to the very final Shot Clock of 2019. It'll be coming back in 2020, and we'll take your suggestions on board. If there's anything you want us to do different, if there's anything that you think would make this part of the show better, then we're all ears. But for now, this is the last time that I get to torment Kieran by absolutely hammering him on the Shot Clock. Our first topic is financial doping. Call it what you will. This is the amount of money that Dublin gets versus everybody else. It had become a hot button topic over the last 18 months, 2 years. I think that if we're going to start talking about the finances, then we need to radically approach this in a different manner, where all of the sponsorship that's raised by inter-county teams is pooled and then given back to teams as per their need. We should also be stepping in to make sure that county boards are run properly, so different counties can't run up millions and millions of fees every year. There should be the same strength and conditioning across the entire country, but generally just making sure that everybody is on a level playing field when it comes to sponsorship, so the population size doesn't dictate just how much money is going straight back to your team. That's one suggestion that I have on this, Kieran. What's yours?
Yeah, no, I agree with all that, but what I don't agree with is the narrative over the last number of days that it's this Dublin team, because they've won 5 in a row, that it's somehow linked to what's going on on the general side of things. I think for me it's, we have to help the weaker counties, of course. Dublin would agree with that themselves, they know that. But this Dublin team could have lost 2 of their All-Irelands in their drive for 5. They should have lost that one to Mayo, and they possibly should have lost to Kerry 2 weeks ago. So, they've, in both those games, when they were put to the pin of their collar, they found a way, to get back. They found a way to kind of dig themselves out of that massive hole under the most extreme of pressures, especially last week. And I think, those players in that team should be celebrated for the way they were able to dig themselves out of it and do a 5 in a row in an era that we thought 5 in a row could never be done. It's wrong to suggest that anything is, and the strength and conditioning is an interesting one. We could all have strength and conditioning coaches, we could all, but the bottom dollar is, if you're a young player now in Dublin and you're given a strength and conditioning programme, and you have the opportunity to go represent Dublin and continue this legacy that they're building at the moment, you're going to do that strength and conditioning, you're going to do that weight, you're going to put on that size, you're going to dedicate your life to it, you're going to not drink, you're going to not go to weddings, you're going to not live a life outside of GA, because you have this opportunity to play in front of 82,000 every week in this huge venue and for this huge team. The same strength and conditioning programs can be given to a player in a Division 4 county. They're not getting any exposure. You know, how long are we going to be in this during the summer? This championship that I'm going to be training all year for could get 2 games in the championship. Is it really worth it? Do they do the same strength and conditioning to the same level? Probably not. So, you know, these Dublin guys have really bought into it more than anybody else in the GA, and I think it's, you know, down to the fact that they've got something to really look forward to, and they know they're going to be a part of a special team and a special setup. So you can put all the money you want in the strength and conditioning. Everybody has good strength and conditioning coaches these days, Jar. It's, you know, strength and conditioning guys can't make you bigger. They give you a platform, and it's you that has to go to the gym every day during the winter to get bigger.
Exactly, and that the real point about the problem with Gaelic football at the moment is our next point, which is championship structures. We're playing the hits today because it's the final one of the year, but we have to come back to this because now is the perfect time to talk about this. There is going to be a new structure put forward before a special congress, but it doesn't work and it doesn't address the fundamental issues which I think we've talked about repeatedly on Shot Clock, and which you fixed with your championship structures, Kieran. This is completely the wrong way we're going about this.
Yeah, I think it's been forced. I think it's been rushed through. I think John is in essence, he's trying to do the right thing, but I just think it's a bit rushed and it's a bit forced. And you know, if you're a player in those counties and you don't want to do it, you know, you've got to go contact your county board. But like, we do need to tier the structure in the championship, but I think it needs a championship format. We need to revamp the whole season, you know, including league games. You know, we need to, you know, the league is the best competition. It's played at the worst time of year. Teams are travelling all over the place at bad time of years. And on our Shot Clock Championship preview, we suggested that we play the provincial championships in a round-robin series where every team gets 4 or 5 games to try and win their provincial championship in February and March. April is club months. County boards are made play county championship games for that month. So we get a few rounds of the county championship where, you know, people get to play, maybe have 1 league game the first week in April and then 3 rounds of the championship. So you obviously your county guys will be fit coming back in, your club players can train. We get to June, July and August for our May is your championship kind of pre-season month where you get ready for your league championship format that we've kind of mixed up, which I think is very important. You get a month to kind of prepare and get the bodies ready for that that series of 7 games. We did the groups, 2 groups of 8 in both tiers, and I think teams would like that. I think you give the club players the month of July off. That's important for the club players. They know they have a month of July off. They can organise birthday parties, they can organise holidays, they can organise trips away with their wife, and that they don't have to do what, you know, people are doing all over the country, cancelling trips, cancelling holidays because club championship games are just thrown out of the air. I think for also any team, I think it's important that teams get a bit of a run championship football in summer. One, having the provincial championships in February and March, local derbies, everybody playing against each other, great atmospheres, good crowds at the games. Then you
and a trophy at the end of it.
And a trophy at the end of it. And everybody, you keep the history of the GA going with your Munster Championships, your Leinster Championships. You give this as well, Ger. You got to put this out a year in advance. And your top 2 divisions in the league, Division 1, Division 2 will play for the Sam Maguire, and Division 3 and Division 4 will go down. So teams have a year to know that, look, okay, we need to stay in Division 2 this year, lads, if we want to go for Sam Maguire. It ramps up the leagues that year. It's not a surprise to anybody. You don't have the situation where if it was brought in this year, Cork would be like, okay, we're down in Division 3, that was a mistake by us. But certainly these are all things we need to do. But the club player is very important in this. And, you know, I think the club player having some structure to their season would be great. And I think every Division 3, Division 4, Division 2, Division 1, every team guaranteed 7 championship games during the summer months. You know, teams getting a bit of momentum, managers being able to actually work on something besides playing 2 games, be knocked out of the championship, all your players shoot off to America. You can't build a culture in that, you can't build any bit of momentum in that, you can't get fans to buy into that by playing one game away.
My prediction is if they go ahead with the changes as suggested at the moment, that the weaker counties will be absolutely decimated because you're far better off going to America and making a little bit of cash and having the summer than playing in this B championship that the players don't actually want as it's currently constituted. I think players do want a meaningful second-tier summer championship competition that gives them a prospect of progress.
Where you play 7 games and you have something to build to, and you know the teams you're playing, you can figure out what games you need to win, big games that are huge games, and then
you can aspire to go up to the top tier.
Absolutely, you get into the semi-finals of Tier 2. You're the top 2 teams in both Tier 2 groups. You get to jump in for your championship. You're into the Sam Maguire the year after. You have a bit of momentum. You have a bit of feel-good policy about yourself. You've played in Croke Park. The big thing is how you promote this. So every week that the GAA show 4 or 5 games, you show 2 Tier 1 games, you show 2 Tier 2 games, and you market the best 2 Tier 2 games to play. But that's very important, and I think it's something that we need to, if this one doesn't pass, we need to have a real think about the whole format of football in this country. I've taken on the Tralee IT job. The colleges, their situation is very tough, and we need to figure out a better way to run the whole system. Not just say, oh, you're Division 3 or Division 4, you're beaten, or you go into that competition there. I think it's too rushed. I saw an article yesterday saying Tommy Murphy Mark 3, and that's no good for anybody.
Here's what your tiers look like. The lower tier Week 1 fixtures: Waterford, Offaly, Louth, Sligo, Derry against Cork, Wexford against London, Longford against Wicklow, Carlow against Tip, Antrim against Leitrim.
Exactly, like in that Tier 2 now, you'd have Derry and Cork above an Owen Beg, and you'd maybe Down and Limerick or Carlow and Tipperary. But every week, you have teams of an equal ability playing each other, and every 2 games a week from that Tier 2 is going to be on TV. It'll be exciting, the games will be good. Everybody will watch those games. What we don't want to watch and what we're sick of watching is Division 1 teams that are kind of marching all over.
They're hammering teams.
Hammering teams, yeah.
So here's what Tier 1 would have been at the start of last season: Meath, Galway, Tyrone, Fermanagh, Kerry, Roscommon, Clare, Laois, Cavan, Monaghan, Donegal versus Dublin and Ballybuffet, Westmeath against Kildare and Mullingar, and Mayo against Armagh and Castlebar.
Yes.
Mayo against Armagh was a great game.
Mayo against Armagh was an unbelievable game in Castlebar. The atmosphere, again, electric, summer months.
Meath and Galway would be good.
Meath and Galway would be great.
If it was in Roscommon, you would say would be a better game.
And Donegal v Dublin would be great. And you put these games on a Saturday and a Sunday, and you show highlights on both nights of the games, so everybody's getting a bit of exposure. But certainly, I think for any team to be guaranteed, you've 7 championship games during the 3 summer months, and the club player knows, okay, June we're going to have league games, July we're off, August we've got league games again, and we're going to get everybody bar the teams that are playing in semi-finals in Croke Park and finals. Their championship will be kicking off in September. So they have structure around their season.
And everybody knows from the get-go.
Everybody knows from the get-go. It isn't, when we don't know when we're playing championship. It'll be 2 weeks whenever we're beaten, lads, but we don't know when we're going to be beaten, so it's up in the air.
You were talking about people moving holidays or weddings or stuff. Most people don't. They just stop playing. That's why players drop out at 24, 25, 26.
Yeah. I read David Gillick, the pro athletics Irish star, and he was playing a bit of football, and in the end he just said, I'm going to play 5-a-side, I'm sick of this, games being changed, games being cancelled, games being moved, I can't organise anything. I had my brother's wedding last year, going over with my 2 daughters and my wife to a big day for our family, our first kind of family holiday as well as a group, and a wedding in Marbella, and I'm at the wedding on a Friday night, trying to make a speech without drink, and getting up the following morning at 6 o'clock to head to the airport to get back, to fly into Cork, to drive straight to Austin Stacks Park, to play Dingle in a championship game, to lose by 7 points, to drive home, fly back out to Marbella on a Sunday and fly back home again on a Tuesday. But it ruined my brother's wedding, it ruined my family holiday. But club players are going to do that all over the country, and club players are doing it because that's what's expected you as a club player. So it'd be great, I think, for the club player to have structure around his year, to know what he's doing, and the county player structure. Now a county player, doesn't matter where he is, he knows, okay, we've got 7 games during the summer, these are the games we're playing, we're going to be away here, home here. You get a bit of momentum, you get something to build on for the year after. What can you build on for the year after as a coach or a team if you play 2 games in the championship, Jar? Nothing. Right, rant over. I thought the Shot Clock Championship got big, got a good reaction, and I think
it's still exactly the same problem, and it's not been addressed over the summer by the new plans to fix it.
In essence, it's not great. Your topic 3 is I want to get your take on penalties being taken by players that are not the penalty takers in huge games. Have managers lost the plot, or have players lost the plot, or is it a case of both? Like, why isn't Lampard the last day roaring? Why isn't Solskjaer going, Pogba, get away from the penalty, Rashford is our penalty taker? What is this about, and why has it happened so much lately? It was always a thing, every club, we knew Shearer was taking the penalties, we knew the players who took the penalties of their club. Why has it changed?
There was a little bit of at Arsenal when Thierry Henry would get fouled, he wouldn't take it for whatever reason. I think it was just because he was such good friends with Bobby Pires, and he wanted Bobby Pires to have
a few goals.
Yeah, the goal bonuses. I think it was like probably he was helping his buddy make a bit more cash. But why Ross Barkley is suddenly taking penalties? Why Frank Lampard, who was such a brilliant penalty taker, hasn't got this thing nailed down? It doesn't make any sense.
Well, it looks like he's it nailed down because, you know.
But there was 3 of them on the ball. 3 of them. I want to do that. Yeah.
Well, I think Willian was kind of going, hold on, I'm next in line here. There's definitely not you. You definitely can't be the next guy in line. But just let the regular penalty taker take it. You know, it's a big game for Chelsea the last day. It's Champions League. It's against Valencia. It's a tough enough group. It's your home game. You would have wanted to win, but look, a draw. You take a draw, and this guy.
It's almost like they don't practice penalties in English football for some reason.
Yeah, I think it's like, my opinion is, when you take that penalty, you're putting such pressure on yourself. You know, oh no, I got this. This is my penalty. He's patting his chest. He's telling everybody he's going to score. And then he's that little time where he stands over the ball, and all of a sudden it kind of dawns into his brain, well, Jesus, if I miss this, I'm going to look like a complete idiot right now for taking this penalty. And
who's that on the right? Oh, it's Frank Lampard. And Paulo Di Canio is not giving that ball back, and he doesn't give the ball back, and he whacks it in the year 2000. I don't know if he did a Panenka with that one, but certainly Di Canio scores. There's a desire there. I'm taking the penalties. Now, Frank Lampard obviously has that experience in his locker, and he's allowing it to continue. It makes no sense to me.
Yeah, he's like, you know, it's...
Practice the penalties.
Yeah, but I'm sure they do, though, Jar.
And then the winner is the winner, and he's taking all the penalties forever.
Yeah, competition. Yeah, competitions can be funny. You know, not always the best penalty taker on your team wins that penalty shootout. So
did you ever take penalties?
I took a few. Wouldn't have been. It was the old GA marker was way out. It was 14 yards out. I missed 1 or 2, and I quickly got away. There was a time I was taking 45s, frees off the ground penalties.
For Kerry?
No, not for Kerry.
Right.
No, in fairness, we had some great penalty takers. Brian Sheehan was a serious spot kick taker. You know, he technique and he knew where he was putting it, and he had a great strike of a ball. So I think your guy.
Brian Sheehan is on the field and Gooch goes, I'm taking it.
No, it just wouldn't happen. That's my point. That's what's freaking me out about it. It's bonker stuff. Just let the regular penalty taker take the penalty, please, from now on. That's everybody. That's all for every youth soccer team, GA team out there. Whoever's designated by the manager to take the penalty, let the penalty taker take it.
Yeah, make your mind up. It's almost like they don't realise scoring goals is important in big games.
Come on.
Especially when you've got a 1-on-1 with the keeper.
From 8 yards out, and I saw the keeper as well for Valencia. He looked tiny in the goals. I says to Hillary when Barkley was standing over, look at the size of the keeper, look at the size of the goals. He's so close, he can't miss.
He's like that 5'9" Bulgarian who played against us a couple of weeks back that we should have been pinging them in from 60 yards. Right, next one is Team of the Year. Shot Clock Team of the Year as picked by Kieran Donaghy. Who have you got? You've gone for Cluxton and goals, right? It has to be.
It has to be.
Fair enough.
Yeah, I think he's best season in the last. Look, he's always brilliant, but I think this year. I think his saves this year were huge. You know, he had a kick out to Kilkenny in the second half of the first game, and it was, you know, people, Cluxton is 37 now, he can't kick it as long as he used to.
Yes, he can.
Yes, he can when he wants to. It's a narrow 70 yards out towards the Hogan stand and into Kilkenny's lap when they got an easy score off it. So, yeah, he's the man. I think Mick Fitzsimons was, you know, again, a standout player for this Dublin team and has been. I've gone with Johnny Cooper, full back. He had a tired time for 30 minutes, got a few unlucky calls, got the road, but I think as a leader back there, you know, and his versatility, and he's the guy that takes the short straw and picks up the best forward most of the time. So I've gone with Johnny Cooper, full back. Thomas Sullivan, who had a great year for Kerry, cornerback. He has to make it as well. Bar the 4 points that Con kicked the last day, I think he only 2 points kicked off from the championship up until that. Jack McCaffrey, obviously, at right half back, unbelievable all year. You know, he was under pressure in the Mayo game from Paddy Durcan, who's also on this team. But other than that, he's been, you know, and the first final was a masterclass in how to play at half back. James McCarthy at centre back. He's just been such a solid guy for this Dublin team, and he's another guy that had a poor day out the first day, but again showed his class and showed that class is permanent and rectified it.
Still had a goal line clearance that's very important.
Yeah, huge. But it was just an James McCarthy like performance. He got turned over a few times. He kicked one out over the sideline. He didn't look like he'd legs. I think a lot of the guys, you know, I think that pressure that first day could have got to a few of them, not mentally, but just in their bodies. Paddy Durcan left half back. We covered Mayo a lot this year with Sky Sports, Ger, and I thought Paddy Durcan was absolutely outstanding. David Moore and Brian Fenton are kind of automatics for me in the middle of the field, the two best midfielders out there. Con O'Callaghan at 10, Shawnee O'Shea at 11, Kieran Kilkenny at 12.
Con at 10.
Yeah.
He's getting into the team because you've got somebody else. So let me just point out that your 8, 9, 10, 11 and 12 is missing somebody. So you've got Brian Fenton, you've got David Moore and Con O'Callaghan, Sean O'Shea and Kieran Kilkenny. Not there is Michael Murphy, and not there is Aidan O'Shea.
Yeah.
Neither of them makes your team of the year.
Yeah, because I think they're both centre forwards, and yeah, Shawnee O'Shea was better, Ger.
See, I would have Sean O'Shea at 10, Michael Murphy at 11 and Kieran Kilkenny at 12, and I'd make room for Con in the full forward line because that's where he did all his damage.
Yeah.
Let's get to your full forward line because there's definitely one automatic and maybe two in that line.
Mannion is automatic.
He is, yeah. I think Mannion was in the running for Player of the Year but didn't quite make it in the end. He's not going to make the shortlist, I don't think. He might do, but I don't think so. 14 is Colin McShane.
Yeah.
Colin McShane had a good year, right? And it's a breakout year. And if there was a breakout year award, then I think he would probably be getting it. But I'm not having Colin McShane in my team ahead of Michael Murphy. Because that's what that is. 14 should be Con O'Callaghan, shouldn't it?
I don't know, I thought McShane for Tyrone this year was just unbelievable. And unbelievable in every game he played. Like literally,
you know
like
a bit more about playing 14 than I do.
I do, and I covered him twice. His movement, his strength, any ball is a good ball. Very like Con Callaghan inside there.
Is he as good as Con Callaghan, do you think?
I think he's as good as is he as good as Con O'Callaghan? That's a tough one, right? But what I will say about my team is Con O'Callaghan can equally be lethal out of 10, whereas I don't think McShane would be a wing forward, as I think he's a note scorer, whereas I think Con could literally, I think you can play Con at half back and he'd be an absolute Rolls Royce of a player. Probably midfield, you wouldn't mightn't get away with him in the middle of the field, but any one of the top 6 spots he can play, and I just felt McShane really deserved to be in it this year. I thought he was outstanding, and obviously Clifford is in my eyes as well, automatic. So the reason Con is at 10 is because he's the only one out of those 3 that I think that can play at half forward, and I think the inside 3 guys would break your heart scoring wise, and I think Con would break your heart scoring and winning breaks, soloing, carrying ball from 10, going back, turning guys over. So yeah, I think it's they're going to have to do something with that full forward line, because I don't know how they leave out. And I think the All-Stars, the All-Stars has to be your best 15 players of the season, and you figure it out, and they always they have really, in essence. I remember, I got one in 8, and I should have got one in 7, and I don't necessarily felt that, I should have got one in 8, but what they did is Sean Kavanagh was very good for that year for Tyrone. They moved him to the half forward line, and it opened up a spot for me to get 14. But I think that's what they possibly I think they do it now, just all forwards. Yeah, which is probably better because it just frees them up to kind of to have their selection committee. But that's as good as a team as I wouldn't like to play that team.
No, I
was talking to Kieran Shannon yesterday. He's doing his team of the decade, and if you think there's arguments in this team, try and pick the team of the noughties. It'll be an interesting article by Kieran on Saturday. I'm looking forward to seeing what he settles on.
Me too.
A few arguments over it.
So that is look. I think it is Colin McShane versus
Murphy.
Yeah. That's the last decision to be made.
Yeah. I just think, I think McShane was awesome. Any ball, high, low, indifferent, he was getting it, banging over the bar. He gave Kerry a very tough time in Croke Park.
This does matter to players, doesn't it? The All-Stars, they matter in the end.
They're nice to get. I don't know.
You hadn't got the one the year after, you deserved one.
Yeah, I was annoyed I didn't get one in 07, simply for the reason that the narrative that was being thrown at me that year was the second season syndrome, because I'd gotten the Player of the Year in 06, and I was kind of, I had a good year in 07, I played well and I led the line well, and I can't even remember who got it, to be honest, but I was just kind of, I felt the narrative cost me out of it, you know what I mean? And
were you there on the night when you didn't get it?
Do you know what? I wasn't, and I missed none. I missed all of the trips of my All-Stars with basketball. So it was I didn't even get a trip out of it. But there was supposed to be good crack. But I didn't get to experience it. We were in 2 cup finals, I think, in 07 and 09, and around that time of year there's big basketball games going on, so I turned them down to play the basketball. So it's look, that team is I think will be very close to the All-Star team, I would say.
Yeah.
And maybe you're right, maybe Michael Murphy has absolute genuine shout to be in there. It's just hard to see who you drop from it.
Look, I don't envy that selection, their decision. Right, we're going to make some predictions. These ones are predictions for the rest of the year as opposed to just predictions for the weekend. We're going to recap all of these predictions in the new year, so choose wisely. Who do they give Player of the Year to in football? Not your pick, but who you think will actually ultimately end up getting it.
I think Stephen Cluxton will get it.
Who would your pick be?
Stephen Cluxton.
Yeah, okay. I think it should be Cluxton, but we had Michael Quinlivan in earlier on in the week, and he was just like, I think I'm probably going to give it to Con. The forwards, he thought that the forwards would end up picking a forward, and they might,
Yeah, so I just think they wouldn't be.
How does this work? Do you get a ballot through the post? Do you get a text? What so?
They wouldn't even be in the replay without Cluxton.
No, it's true. It's true. This is voted for by the players. Did you vote for it when you were playing?
Yes.
You did, yeah?
Yeah.
And is it like...
he'll be my vote,
right?
If I was playing. But I'm has-been now, so I don't get the vote. But I think it's done, isn't it done kind of half and half? Isn't there...
The nominations come from the journalists, and the vote itself, I think, is exclusively with the players.
Exclusively with the players, yeah. I think players recognise Cluxton's greatness at 37 and what he's done throughout his career, and how good he was in the big games this year, and how good he is under the high ball. He came out and won 3 of those high balls
in the first 10 minutes,
and there's carnage going on around the square, and he's coming out with the ball, and then he's making the big save on Stephen O'Brien, and you heard the stuff about how he was disappointed with Killian Spillan's goal.
And looking at his footwork. Same question for the hurling.
Paddy Maher.
Yeah, I think it's probably going to
see that stat in him, that he hasn't, in 10 years, hasn't missed a minute of championship football.
That's pretty amazing.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. I saw it and I was like, there's no way that can be true.
Callanan scored a goal in every game.
Shame he's right there. It's the two of them, and I think it'll be a toss up between them. Just when I heard that stat out of Maher and how inspirational he is for them back there and how solid he was all year, and he just comes out with big plays, big balls at times, big rocks that need to be won. He's coming out with them.
Okay, so you're going Paddy Maher. I'll go Callanan just for the sake of debate here. Who will be named Irish Sports Person of the Year? This is easy. This is a shoe-in. There's only one Irish Sports Person of the Year.
Go on, give me yours.
Shane Lowry.
Yeah.
Shane Lowry. Look, unless Ireland...
it was...
We're not going to. if we win the World Cup, if we actually win a World Cup, there's a chance that whoever is the player of the tournament, we would need that person to be player of the tournament.
Is
Shane Lowry, but even then, I think Shane Lowry wins.
I think so because of how much pressure there was on him going into that final round, how he handled himself all week. Just that whole weekend with how we played on the Saturday was amazing to get the lead. And that first hole when I remember Kerry were playing Donegal the same day, and I was sitting in the hotel room and I was watching the golf and trying to stay as late as possible before I went across the road. And that first hole, I was like, this is huge.
Yeah.
And he makes the big putt.
Yeah, that was
and
it.
Fleetwood missed his.
That killed Fleetwood.
It killed Fleetwood. It was a little dagger, and Lowry skipped off the green, happy enough with it. And I think we'd be delighted all for him to win that, because the way he won that Open was unbelievable.
How far do Ireland go in the World Cup?
Realistically, probably quarter-final. I'd love to say and go up my heart and say they'll go all the way and win it, but they do have the ability if they hit their notes, if they hit the purple patches, if they hit the momentum in the game. I think Joe Smith has a few things up his sleeve. He's a very smart individual. He's done remarkably well with this Irish rugby team, and I think they could be there, but that quarter-final game, I think we can take South Africa, but the All Blacks would be scary for me.
I'm going to say beaten in the final. That's what I'm saying. That's my prediction. God,
okay.
If I'm wrong, who cares?
Okay.
Who's top of the Premier League table at Christmas?
Liverpool.
And who's going to make up the top of the rest of the top four?
Man City, Spurs, Chelsea.
Yeah, I think that's exactly what my top four would have been as well. Two quick ones for the road. On Sunday at 4:30, live and Off the Ball, it's Chelsea versus Liverpool.
I'm going to go with Chelsea. Liverpool are back from a tough trip from Italy. It was Tuesday night, so they'll be fine. But I think Chelsea need this one badly. And I think the whole league will be shouting for them, because Liverpool have jumped into a quick little lead and people want it tight this year. So I think Chelsea to maybe, I hope Mason Mount is fit. He's been a revelation this year, and I like to look at Chelsea and at home at the Bridge. It always gives us a chance, and it's the type of game where, it's Liverpool are fancied obviously to win it, but it's the type of game that the first goal will be huge.
I think Liverpool are going to win that one
comfortably.
3-1, 2-0, kind of.
Okay.
Relatively comfortable. And then Ireland versus Scotland, Sunday, 8:45 AM. What happens?
Ireland are going to get this done, aren't they? Scotland are scary because you just don't know what they're going to throw at you. But I think this Irish team are ready for it, and Joe will have them right. And
a tight game.
I think it'll be tight. Yeah, absolutely. I think it'll be tight, especially if conditions are given the way they are. I think it's going to be very tight. But in a tight game with conditions bad, I think the more disciplined and the more rigid team will win. Scotland like to throw the ball around, and if it's this monsoon or whatever comes in,
Ireland are going to win with an intercept try, and we're going to break their hearts at some point in the second half. That's my prediction.
Yeah, I like all that. That's good.
Another shot clock is in the books. 2019 shot clock is in the books. We'll be back. New and improved shot clock for you coming in 2020.
Yeah, looking forward to it in January. Bring it on.
Right. Yeah, here's a competition reminder. The Boys Sports World Grand Prix of Darts returns to City West Convention Centre from the 6th to the 12th of October, all this week in OTB AM, with thanks to the PDC. We're giving you the chance to win the ultimate darting experience. You and a guest will win 2 VIP tickets to the Boys Sports World Grand Prix final, plus a night stay at the City West Hotel, including breakfast on the 12th of October. Tickets can be purchased at ticketmaster.ie. Just search darts. We've daily prizes of tickets for the semi-final on Friday, October the 11th to give away. To enter, share the stream wherever you're watching, or if you're listening at offtheball.com or the Go Loud app, send us a screen grab on Twitter. Today's question is, who won the PDC World Grand Prix of Darts in 2016? Fairly straightforward, so you can get into that. Now, here's something entirely different. In case you were worried that Owen is slacking over in Japan, he's been busy putting this special report together. This is Ireland Day in Yokohama.
You're very welcome along to Yokohama, where in 8 days' time, Ireland will take on Scotland in their Rugby World Cup opener. This street behind me is called Motomachi, and today it is Motomachi Ireland Day. I'm here with Hideki Mimura. You are the brains behind the operation.
I'm one of the team.
Tell us about this. This is Ireland Day. Why does Ireland Day exist in this part of Tokyo? Or Yokohama, I should say.
This is the town where we have annual St. Patrick's Day parade. And especially this year, because Ireland rugby is coming to Yokohama to play. They have match with Scotland, and we thought we should welcome the team and the supporters coming to Yokohama. That's why we set up this event.
You've been interested in Ireland for a long time. I understand you're a potato farmer.
Yes, I'm originally a potato farmer. I'm not working very hard, but I became interested in Ireland when I joined Expo 90 in Osaka.
What is Expo 90?
Garden greenery exposition, and I worked for the Ireland Pavilion without knowing anything about Ireland, but I became a fan since.
Why? Why did you become a fan? What drew you to Ireland?
Irish people were very friendly, and I liked pub culture and music, dance, and many things.
Have you been to Ireland?
Many times.
Where do you usually go?
Usually I go to Dublin and Galway, but in April I went to Dingle to attend the Ride Dingle cycling event.
I'll tell you now, Dingle are in the best county in Ireland.
Oh, it's beautiful.
Yeah, Kerry is the most beautiful county in Ireland. There is no question about that.
Yeah, I haven't been there for about 30 years, and I regret. I should go there often.
I haven't played the spoons in years, and I was taken very much by surprise there and asked to play the spoons. It was brilliant. I thought I was maybe I'll go to draw the next year.
Go up to the Flat Kill. Yeah. Outside of music, it's going to be a city here in Yokohama that's packed with Irish people as the next couple of days progress. They'll all start coming in for the Scotland game over the next couple of days. How important is that when it comes to your own role, when it comes to the relationship between Japan and with Ireland?
It's very important. It's a 6-week tournament if we go all the way, and that's a very long exposure. Ireland is in high profile here for the World Cup for 2 reasons. One is because we have a great side and we're contenders for the title, and secondly because we play Japan in the group stage. And Japan has come on, developed its game. They too are ambitious to emerge for the first time from the pool stage. So Ireland will play Japan in the early stages. For each of us it will be our second game. And our ambitions and our aspirations for each of us will be intact at that stage. The whole country will be behind the Japanese team, and they'll all be focused.
Well, there's a lot of green over there. Are you sure they're going to jump ship when it comes to the game in Shizuoka?
Well, I think they'll rally to their own flag. Yeah. They'll have a great soft spot for Ireland.
Yeah. I'm delighted to say I'm joined by Fiachra Martin, who is making a killing behind us today with Irish whiskey. I've seen people walk up, look at the stall and go, is that Irish whiskey? And then they go towards the stall. It's one hell of a brand to have.
That's it, yeah. We're trying to attract people over here. The Japanese, as you know, they love whiskey. They're mad about it. And there's a real shortage in the market at the moment. You probably heard this gap where Yamazaki and Hibiki is all getting crazy expensive. Now they know Jameson, and they may or may not know Bushmills, but they don't really know any of our single malts or any of the other new distilleries that are opening. So that's our target here now. Our goal is to track them over, give them a taste, see what we have, and then actually open their minds to the fact that Ireland has other whiskies, and then actually show them physically where we are on the map, where distilleries are and what they taste like.
So you're Titanic, that's the name of the brand?
Well, Titanic is our company, and we import whiskey from the north and south of Ireland, and basically brand new, and we're just challenging the Japanese to move away from the Scotch and move away from what they're used to drinking and try something new. And actually the bottle, if I can show you.
Yeah, 100%, please do.
We designed it for Japan, and we designed it for this year. This is a special year, as you know, all that's going on. It's actually also the end of the era.
Explain that to us.
This is the end of the Heisei era. That was around March 2019. We moved into a new era, which is called Reiwa. We don't have that in Europe, obviously. So, but it's a big deal here. There was a 5-day holiday. The emperor changed, and everybody kind of dropped what they were doing. There was no work done, which is rare in Japan, for a while. And then they just had this big celebration and a real marking of the occasion. So that's why we did a special bottling with the katakana, the Japanese language, and we have some, this is the kanji marking of the Heisei, and then the number 31, which is the number of the year. So it's exciting, they like that, they're very respectful about packaging and how things are wrapped up, and if the product inside is good, hopefully it's going to work.
The reason why we started the St. Patrick's Day parade was to create the interest by Japanese people so they can go to Ireland to study or travel. And I think this is the best way. People wearing green, having fun, so people become interested. And then they'll find out it is a celebration of Ireland. I think this is the best way to promote the country.
Well, congratulations on everything, Hideki. It's been an absolutely fantastic day, and thank you for having me as your guest today.
Oh, it was very nice of you to come.
Right. Owen Sheehan, it says here, applying for the job on Nationwide. Let's move on. Let's talk some actual rugby. We'll get some proper news from Owen a little bit later on as well. But we want to go to Gregor Paul from the New Zealand Herald, who obviously is not in New Zealand at the moment, is in Japan. Gregor, good afternoon to you. It is afternoon where you are?
It is afternoon indeed, yep.
So the All Blacks team is named, and I've been reading some of your stuff in recent days, and you feel a little bit like a lot of us do, that maybe the real New Zealand have not really been fully showing their hand until not even next week. Well, sorry, this week, the game against South Africa. Like, this is the moment where everything that has been up to this point, the phony war falls away and the real war begins.
Yeah, look, absolutely. And look, I don't think it's been entirely deliberate. I think they would have liked to have shown a wee bit more than they have coming into the World Cup. So I don't think they've controlled that entirely. But I don't think there's any doubt that they've been working very carefully and deliberately towards building an attacking game that I wouldn't say they've kept it secret, but they haven't really been able to show all the parts of it. They've deliberately held bits of it back in the games that they've played so far this year. And up here in Japan, behind closed doors, they've also been working on the last parts of it and getting used to it, building it. And look, I guess what they're telling us, and if we're going to believe them, we're going to find out on Saturday, that they think they've remodeled their attack game and they've worked out a few answers as to how you can unlock the inevitable rush defences that so many of the teams are going to bring at them.
Okay, and what would that entail?
Well, I mean, I don't think they've divulged that part yet. But I mean, I think we can. What we do know about the All Blacks is that they don't normally take a lot of time to be innovative, do they, and work out the answer to the problem. So they've had a problem for maybe a bit longer than they would have liked in dealing with teams like Ireland and South Africa, who are very good at getting off the line, shutting down space, and not giving them any room to play. Both of those teams and England have been very good at it. And the All Blacks haven't responded that well to date in the last year or so to that sort of challenge. But I think what we do know about the All Blacks is that they go away and they work out and they analyse and they come up with a plan. And how it looks, I guess we'll find out on Saturday. But I think we will definitely see something that will be asking a few more questions of defensive coaches at this World Cup about how quickly and able they're going to be able to respond to what the All Blacks produce. Is
Steve Hansen the architect of that plan, or is there somebody in the backroom team whose job it is actually to go, okay, I've gone and I've run the algorithm in my brain a million times to see what will happen if we play with two decision makers at 10, 15, and if we have these two guys who are playing the way we know they can play, then actually that is the right way to unlock the issue that has been causing us trouble over the last 2 years. Is there somebody else in the backroom team other than Steve Hansen whose job that is?
Yeah, look, probably Ian Foster, the assistant coach, will have had a big input, and absolutely the players. Many of the players, particularly Bowden Barrett, Mo'unga, and a few others, will have been feeding in quite heavily into what they've been experiencing on the field, and some of the ideas that they might have had. We saw the Crusaders this year under the very careful guise of Ronan O'Gara, no less, who created a lot of clever ways for the Crusaders to play against rush defences, because we saw rush defence being more commonly used in Super Rugby, and the Crusaders were quite brilliant at dealing with it. So that was Ronan O'Gara that drove that for them. So I think it'll be a collective and collaborative effort as to how they want to attack. But probably, in all honesty, it's Hansen's job as the head coach to say, look, this is the one single issue that we've got in the game at the moment. Defences have become too good. Too many teams are spending more and more time on the defence, and they're getting very, very good at it. We need to be the team that forces a rethink around world rugby and puts, attack back on as the priority agenda for all teams to develop.
Yeah, okay. Look, it's exactly the time that you want to be presented with the problem 18 months out, 2 years out, as opposed to discovering in the middle of the World Cup going, this is a very interesting new trouble we've suddenly come up against, and we've got a week and a half to fix it.
Oh, absolutely. And I don't know if the timing's that deliberate. I don't really think that they wanted to get to the World Cup without having seen a bit more of their game plan working. We haven't seen, I think Hansen and Foster wanted to see a little bit more than they did against South Africa and Australia in the first two games of this year. So they're probably a wee bit disappointed they haven't actually built it a little bit further down the track before the World Cup. But look, you're right. If you can unleash something, look at the All Blacks in '95 when they brought John Olomo into the World Cup. No one had a clue what to do about him, did they? And, we've seen other teams, maybe, the French are probably quite good at keeping what they're going to be doing at a World Cup under wraps and then unleash it on the day. And you're like, wow, nobody thought that was coming. So it's a good time if you can do it. If you can sucker everyone into thinking you're weak, where in actual fact you're planning on being strong, then, the World Cup is the right place to unleash all that.
Well, you're singing a song that every Irish rugby fan absolutely hopes is true about our team and Joe Schmidt, and him obviously having had the experience that he had the last time we went into the World Cup with actually a stronger starting 15 than we have now. But I guess that's a conversation for a different day. In terms of what you expect from South Africa, they're definitely a team who, it seems from this side of the world anyway, are strutting around the place, very happy with how their game is going at the moment, and very happy with their position in the world as a team who have come ready to spoil the party.
Oh, absolutely. I was in Auckland when the All Blacks beat them 57-0 under a different coach, and that was the nadir for them, and brought them round to bringing in Rassie Erasmus to coach them, and they've ripped up everything that they did. But I don't think they've reinvented how they play, and there's not a huge amount of intrigue or subtlety about it. And I don't mean that disparagingly about them, because what they do is so hugely effective. They play with so much defensive impact. They defend superbly. They kick brilliantly off Faf de Klerk and Andre Pollard. They put a huge amount of pressure on teams through their kicking game. And I guess the difference that Erasmus has brought with them, they've got a couple of wingers there who can really take advantage of opportunity, and Berlandi in the midfield is a great ball player. So I guess the difference with the Boks at the moment is they put a huge amount of pressure on teams, through their structured play, but they can play off turnover ball now. They've got speed and awareness and the ability to move the ball. Willie LaRue's another one who's very, very good at playing against an unstructured defence. And you start looking at that and you go, well, they're brilliant at set piece, great driving maul, very good at scrummaging, and now they can do the counter-attack stuff nearly as well as the All Blacks can. And you're like, jeepers, where's this team got a weakness at the moment? And I don't see too many.
Yeah. What do you actually expect to happen in the game then this weekend?
Well, I think both teams are sort of telegraphed. Whether you believe them or not, well, we're going to find out. But, the Boks haven't hidden away from how they're going to play. And the All Blacks today, in announcing their team, Steve Hansen made it very clear that he believes that, the Boks are going to kick, and they're going to kick, and then they're going to kick again. And they're going to run up the middle of the park with the big ball carriers that they have, Vermeulen and Steph de Twat. Those guys are just going to come up in the middle of the field, thump, thump, thump. And if that doesn't work, then they're going to kick again. And if that doesn't work, they're going to thump back up the middle of the field. So he's not really expecting a huge amount of variation in what they're going to do. But as he says, the difficulty of playing the Springboks is not working out what they're going to do. Because even when you know what they're going to do, it's still really difficult to stop them, because you can't underestimate the size of that pack and the ball carrying impact that they have, and how hard it is to stop them on the game line. and you can't underestimate how good they are at stopping other teams on the gain line and controlling the momentum of the game and the pace that it's played at.
Gregor, it's been a big story in this part of the world about the Dianti positive sample. So obviously this is a member of the South African squad test positive. Then the squad take that infamous now photograph of themselves looking particularly ripped, and people are questioning the judgment call that was made by that group of players to show just how strong they are in the wake of a positive drug test of one of their teammates. Has this made a ripple in New Zealand? Is it something that people are talking about in advance of this game at all?
Oh, look a wee bit. I'd imagine I'm not a great follower of social media, but I believe there's been a fair bit of banter about that, through the rugby fraternity in New Zealand. I mean, it was an ill-advised picture. I know they probably didn't put two and two together at the time, because you don't, but everyone's looking at that and drawing conclusions and drawing dots and going, wow, what's going on over there? And that's probably not fair, because it's casting aspersions on guys that we shouldn't do. But it was an ill-advised or a quirk of timing that has left a few questions being asked in New Zealand, because I think while there's enormous respect between the two nations, particularly the two rugby teams, they get on well, they love playing against each other, it's ferocious when they do it. There is probably buried in the New Zealand psyche a sense of distrust going back into the realms of time where they used to go to South Africa in the old days, and they didn't encounter neutral referees, and there's apparently way before my time test matches that were turned by local referees finding tries and no one else saw, that kind of stuff. So there's a little bit of that goes on, and there's also a feeling of that they're, over in the Republic, they're a bit of a law unto themselves at times. So, yep, there's been a bit of chat about that back home.
Yeah, and is there a concern that, unless everybody else around the rugby world start to ask South Africa to make sure that they're applying the same standards to all of their players that everybody else is trying to apply, that maybe this might not always be the most even playing field when it comes to playing against South African teams at any level?
I don't think anyone's jumping that far ahead or worried about it too much. And the proof of the pudding's always in the eating, isn't it? So no matter what's been going on, I'm not for 1 minute suggesting anything has, we'll find out how fit the Africans are, on Saturday, because it's hot, humid. The All Blacks want to play at a cracking pace. So whatever's been happening, however teams have been preparing, whatever methods any team has, if they're ultimately not that successful this weekend, I don't know if it's a story that will gather a pace or not at that point, because it will probably die a death, I would have thought.
Okay, it'll be interesting to track that as the tournament progresses. One last question for you. Are Scotland going to beat Ireland at the weekend?
It wouldn't surprise me if Scotland do beat Ireland, but then go and lose to Japan and end up being eliminated that way, because we will find a curious way to get knocked out of the World Cup at the pool stages. But I wouldn't underestimate the heat and the humidity, and I think that's an afternoon kick-off. And I wouldn't know the last time that Ireland and Scotland played in conditions like that. They don't often find that in Dublin or Edinburgh, I don't suppose. So that will be an intriguing factor to see which one of them can cope. And I know that Scotland really do enjoy playing a wide and expansive game at the moment, and whether they can produce that in these conditions, we'll have to wait and see that. All I know about World Cups is that everyone has expectations. You look at the favourites and you think, they're going to win. But invariably, results, Japan beat South Africa, France beat the All Blacks, that kind of stuff happens, and the World Cup gets tipped upside down, and all of a sudden, Ireland are playing New Zealand, but they're playing as, New Zealand 1 and Ireland 2, or Ireland 1 and New Zealand 2, and it turns up different results, doesn't it? So look, I'd imagine Scotland can beat Ireland, but I would never ever back Scotland to do it, because I've got so little trust in our ability to do it.
I think locked together in our mutual fear of defeat to each other is exactly how our Celtic nations have come to be such good friends over the years. Gregor, great to have you with us. Enjoy the World Cup, man. Thanks a million.
Thanks, mate. Cheers.
Gregor Paul giving us some thoughts on his adopted country, New Zealand, and obviously his original country in Scotland, obviously facing Ireland this weekend. I can't believe it's actually here. It kind of feels a little bit surreal at this point that we are staring down the barrel of the opening round of fixtures of the Rugby World Cup, when we've been talking about it for so long. All the shadow boxing is over, all the nonsense, all the crap. It's just down to the 15 on 15 for the 80 minutes, and reputations will be forged legacies will be left, and careers will be careers are going to explode. People are going to be global superstars in the world rugby sense, and if we go out at the quarterfinal again, then it's going to be a millstone around the neck of Irish rugby for this generation, and it's the same millstone that all the other previous generations have had. So, quite a lot on over the next 5-6 weeks of rugby, and we'll be bringing you loads of great analysis, reaction and commentary right here. We are going to bring you this before we take ads. As questions surrounding doping in rugby proliferate, Matt Williams hasn't been happy with how elements of the Irish media have handled the issue. Have a look.
I do have to say that some of the comments that have been coming out of the Irish media, simply because people are big and athletic and have done a lot of work in the gym over many, many years, doesn't make them drug cheats. Now, there has to be some balance in this discussion that a guy that started at 15, and everyone now, our generation didn't lift weights, right? If you go back to Neil Francis and those guys didn't lift weights. They are still very, very big human beings. If you meet Willie John McBride, you meet Bill Beaumont, you go and meet Dottie Weir, you meet these guys, they are very big human beings. They didn't lift weights, but they didn't take drugs. Now, is there a problem in South Africa? In the past, when they were in isolation, there was a lot of guys failed drug tests. That was 20 years ago. We've had a spate of guys die that were in the 1995 World Cup, which is horrific. And all of us have thought about it. Is there? Now, we don't know. But to come out and to say a sport like rugby has a problem, and that's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. Sports science, I've been in professional coaching for almost 30 years. Coaching has regressed. People are copying off the internet. They're not using thinking. They're not creative. They're not original. Sports science has gone forward in so many generations. It is tenfold above. And I was trained in that area. I was trained initially in sports science. It is extraordinary what the sports scientists around the world know.
Yeah, I'd say it's right for us all, though, to be sceptical, Matt. I've got to say that anybody who's watched the evolution of any sport realises that people are going to cheat because human beings cheat. And so there's no way that rugby doesn't have at least the same proportion of cheats as every other sport. So the debate is open and it's up and running. That was Matt Williams. Owen Sheehan joins us now, who kicked off a lot of this with his question at the South African press conference a couple of days ago. Didn't get to chat to you in the aftermath of that, Owen. Before I get you to give us your little mini tour, what was the South African press in the immediate aftermath? Did they come up and chat to you about it and go, oh, it's an interesting line of questioning? It's funny, we didn't think to ask that.
No, they didn't say that. There was a lot of New Zealand media naturally in the room, of course, as well, ahead of Saturday's huge game in their opener in the World Cup as well. So I didn't really get chatting to any of them. It was just myself and Gavin Comiskey really from the Irish media who were in the room. So it was just kind of us chatting to one another afterwards. And we kind of filed in the hotel together, and the rest of the journalists didn't really come up and engage with us at all. But to be fair, as I said the last day in our Skype insert from Disneyland, the South African press officer did allow an open floor of questions for a full 20 minutes. Like we're used to in Ireland getting 9-minute, 10-minute press conferences max, full 20 minutes. He didn't interject once. I was allowed to ask follow-up questions. The only reason why I didn't go any further is that somebody else and asked about the scrum. So it was kind of free for all. It seemed like the journalists were happy enough for us to ask the questions. And, you know, obviously Matt Proudfoot wasn't entirely happy to answer the question fully because, as he said, he's a scrum coach and apparently scrum coaches can't have an opinion on that sort of thing. But no, not really. There wasn't much discussion around it afterwards. We just kind of went in, asked our questions and quietly left.
Okay, and no doubt there'll be plenty more asked across the course of this as well. You're also part of the next conversation. I'm going to show you this for anybody who's joining us a bit late. It's 4 minutes past 9 this morning, by the way, here on OTB AM. Here is CJ Stander talking about the same issue when he was asked about it at the Ireland press conference in the last 24 hours.
CJ, there's been a lot of talk about doping in rugby, and especially back home in your native South Africa. I mean, is it something that would have been talked about a lot when you were younger? Is it something you would have seen in your career when you were in South Africa?
No, I think when I was younger I was out on the sticks, you know, so the only thing we actually knew there was farming and what else we were doing, you know, so I never really came across a lot. I think it's something probably if you want to go look for it and you want to do it, then probably it's open to get there, but I think I don't look, I don't think it's a great thing to do at all. I think the sport is a great sport, and the better we can keep it clean is great. And I think in Ireland anyway, they look after all of those things and make sure everyone is on track, So again, it's something I think needs to get out of the sport.
Did you notice it at Craven Week? Because it has been a real problem since they started to investigate Craven Week in the last 2 years.
Yeah, mate, I played Craven Week probably, 11 years ago, so I think most you get out there is the eggs you got in the morning for the protein, So I think...
It wasn't in evidence back then?
No, nothing. I think they was quite on top of it, and everyone was... I think I was tested when I played Craven Week, probably out of the 3 games, I think 3 days, so they're quite on top of it, so I think it's well looked after, and I think probably the last few years they probably just had more testers out, and I don't really know what happened in the last few years in the Craven Week. Sorry about that.
Okay, so that's CJ Stander and Keith Earls at the press conference yesterday. And just to talk about Earls being there, that wasn't a sign. We're not supposed to read into that a sign that he's going to be playing this weekend. The various suggested teams this morning don't have him playing. They've got Conway at fullback, Larmour on the wing, so no room for Keith Earls this weekend in terms of injury.
I haven't seen the Irish press this morning, Ger, but it's interesting that they've named that all right, because yesterday in the press conference, Keith Earls was like, I'm hoping to play, and it's unusual that he would be put forward to speak if he wasn't going to play, unless there was some real risk that the team was going to leak, and they really don't want Scotland to know about this fact that Keith Earls is going to be out, and they put him forward for press so that the Scots are looking at the press conference and saying to themselves, well, that guy's obviously going to start again because he's up doing press in front of the Irish media. So it could be something of a double bluff from Joe Schmidt. He thinks about the media a bit, we understand. When it comes to those leaks, he's privately sometimes unhappy that they get out, and you would suspect that a team will leak again this week. So if it's in the papers back home, you'd imagine that that's come from a leak. And the information seems to be all right that Larmour and Conway will start, and that Carney and Earls are out. But if this is a double bluff from Schmidt, it does suggest that the back three is an area that perhaps Scotland can get at. I mean, it was a question that was asked in the Scotland press conference yesterday of Stuart Hogg. How does your game plan change if the back three is different? And there was a little wry smile. It was a traditional, boring press conference, but there was a kind of a sense that perhaps there will be an opportunity knocking for Scotland were the back three to change for Ireland tomorrow.
Yeah, okay. Look, they've got a back three that's pretty good, and I'm sure they're going to back themselves against ours. What are the anxiety levels like at the moment? Here we are. Like famously, Peter O'Mahony told us a couple of 8 weeks ago that the pressure that he feels on match week leaves him feeling sick. That's a match week in a Six Nations game where it's a huge game, obviously, but these World Cup matches are the matches that the careers of everybody in this squad are going to be remembered for.
Yeah, exactly. That's it. This is, you look at someone like Johnny Sexton, you put it into microcosm, the last couple of World Cups won't have finished the way he wanted it. They didn't finish the way anybody wanted from an Irish perspective, but especially for Johnny Sexton, he really feels he never got to give a full account of himself when it came to those last 2 quarterfinals at all. So if you put his situation into microcosm, yeah, there's pressure on this Ireland team. There's huge pressure on this Ireland team. Like you look at their build-up over the last couple of days. Apparently they're flying in training. All the players have been at pains to say that. Andy Farrell, though, was at pains to say that actually if you're flying on a Wednesday, it doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to go in good fettle into a Sunday game. But it seems that they're hopping off the walls and they're ready to go. The build-up has been quite interesting, and the kind of deployment of the teams has differed between Scotland and Ireland. The last week, obviously, has seen Ireland based out in Chiba, which is a few miles east of Tokyo, whereas Scotland were down in Nagasaki. They went all the way down to the south of the country to get more humid conditions, to get away from it all entirely, to have a completely different city experience, whereas Ireland felt like they were flirting with Tokyo but staying away at the same time. So it's interesting how they've gone for 2 different build-ups entirely. Scotland really only getting into things yesterday in this part of the country.
Can you feel that anxiety when the players are in the room, or is it all actually, I mean, at this stage, are they good at compartmentalising the levels of anxiety that they must surely be feeling ahead of this?
No, it's actually the complete opposite. There is little to no anxiety at all when it comes to any of the coaches, any of the players. Like when we had recent Kieran Donaghy the last day, they were really relaxed. Andrew Porter was particularly relaxed the other day. CJ Stander was making jokes in his press conference yesterday, and he seemed really relaxed. There's no suggestion from the way they're speaking or the way they're talking to us in the day-to-day press duties that there's any anxiety within the camp whatsoever. But it will be interesting to see if Earls does not play this weekend because you suspect that Joe Schmidt has already got his mind made up. And then it will be proof that it was a bit of a ploy to put him up for media duties yesterday if he isn't going to play this weekend. That would suggest that there is a little bit of anxiety in the camp, that they were trying to do something. The whole phrase about them being happy with their 31-man squad has been trundled out about 50 times already this week.
Okay, right. Methinks the lady does protest too much. So, a couple of quick things to ask you about. We were promised a piece with a Japanese superfan. Owen, where is it?
I know, so was I, Ger, so was I. Apparently they speak a different language here, Ger. That's something I've discovered. I was put in contact with this man, Yoshi, who is the biggest Japanese fan there is. He kind of reminds me of the guy from Offaly. He goes to all the GAA matches. He's been to all the World Cup games involving Japan. I'm not sure that he wear those clothes every day of the week, but a Japanese journalist put me in touch with him yesterday, and when I met him I knew immediately we had an issue because his English was not great. He did, however, teach me how to use chopsticks, even though I would say my chopstick method was pretty good already, Ger. It was kind of patronising. And second of all, he taught me how to drink sake, which was pretty nice, but only had a few cups while he was slugging away on the sake like a true Japanese fan.
A few light ales, officer, is what you're saying to us at the moment. I'm not sure that it's true. Owen, how strong was the and you pronounced it differently from how we would normally have, so go again.
Oh, how do you pronounce it? What is the... I said sake.
Okay, I would have said sake, but anyway, is it sake? Is that what he said? This is sake. You're teaching us, you're educating us, remember that?
That is a good point. I definitely didn't hear him say anything other than sake, to be quite honest with you. If it's sake, I truly apologise. I think it was 20-something%. It's like, I'm not sure if you had it, sure. It tastes kind of like white wine with a little drop of vodka in it.
Right.
That's kind of what I'd go for.
Do you often mix vodka with your white wine, Owen?
When I was in college, 4 nights a week.
It was the only way to make that white wine palatable. Okay, right. Where are you?
I'm in Shibuya Crossing, Ger. This is the busiest intersection in the world, they tell me. It is the Times Square of Tokyo, but it is kind of Times Square times 100. We'll take a little tour around in a while, but I had 5 minutes there to kill, so I went in and got a bit of food. Are you interested in what Japanese people with a sweet tooth tend to devour?
Yeah.
Because I've got a bag full of goodies here right beside me. So we've got 3 different items that I want to try out today. I haven't had any kind of sweet food while I've been here. It's just been sake and sushi for me. First thing we want to try out is this little thing with a creepy bear on the front, kind of scared the shit out of me, to be honest, when I picked it up in the shop. It looks like a little tub of Pringles or something like that. The flavour looks like a cup of tea.
Right.
Crisps that are flavoured like a cup of tea in Japan, not in Ireland. This is extraordinary. I'll open it up just to confirm that they are indeed Pringles or mini Pringles or whatever you want to call them. Yes, they are. Those sort of things there. Very, very nice.
Crisps.
I'm after spilling some on the ground. 2 seconds. Sorry, littering is like an arrestable offence here. Right, that's that. We've got these bourbon creams. Bourbon creams. The child on the top of it looks like the last sight you'd see before you get horrifically murdered in a horror film. So again, popped off the shelf to me earlier on. I'm going to have a look inside to see what they look like. These sort of individually wrapped things. For a country that doesn't like glitter, they certainly individually wrap a lot of things. Their packaging isn't great.
Okay, this is...
I can't get those open, but we'll do that in a little while.
Bourbon creams, I mean... so I presume they're the same as ours, right? And are the crisps the same as ours? I mean, presumably ours is still the nicest crisp in the world.
It is not a cup of tea flavour, I can confirm. That is very much sour cream and onion.
Oh, yeah.
I'm not sure who stole what. Was it Pringles or was it the creepy bear who stole the flavour? I'll try and get to the bottom of that eventually. The final thing I got here is, again, double packaging. Absolutely disgraceful. The environment is dying over here in Tokyo. We're trying to get a little sushi box, but it's actually full of gummy bears, I presume.
And here's one I prepared earlier. That's a good line that you should learn for the next one of these.
Yeah, I probably should, but to be honest with you, this is more fun because I don't even know what's coming. And what you've got is a load of pouches of powder. Well, this is disappointing. There isn't even gummy bear sweets in there, which is what I was hoping for. That was an absolute disaster. That's all you get.
Right,
Imagine
very good.
giving that to your child after a good day at school. That's all you got. So that's that for the sweets. We're going to go for a quick tour around if you want to see a bit of this place.
Yeah, go on quick.
If you want to see a bit of this... Grant. 2 seconds. I'm going to turn this camera around and we're going to have a look at some of the things that we can see here. So we can start to see a bit of the rugby starting to make its way into Tokyo at this point. We can see a couple of the All Blacks here and the All Black team as well at the train station. This is the main intersection here in front of me. It's kind of like that scene in 300 when the two armies run at each other when the lights go green. And the light is currently green at this point. You've got the Springboks up there to our right hand side for an ad for ASICS. And really, you can start to see that this city is starting to embrace the Rugby World Cup. You're starting to see more evidence that the Rugby World Cup is taking place here. Very Times Square. That Starbucks in front of us is, by all accounts, the busiest Starbucks in the history of mankind. That's what it says on Wikipedia. Got just tons of lights everywhere, and that is Shibuya Crossing there.
Right, there you go, Owen. Uncle Travelling Matt, another postcard all the way from Japan. Thanks very much. Are you enjoying it?
Yeah, it's class, sure. In fairness, it's an amazing country to be there. It's like Tokyo is, I would imagine, and we'll get kind of a greater sense of this as the tournament goes on. Kind of mini country of itself, that the country will be a far different place. People will be very different. Tokyo is just ginormous. They've got lost here about 5 times. They're like very badly lost about 5 times here. The language barrier can be a bit of an issue. But the people here are so lovely, even if they can't communicate with me in English.
That's good. I'm glad someone's looking after you, Owen, and try not to get lost again. Thanks a million. We'll talk to you again real soon. It's our man in Japan, Owen Sheehan at Shibuya Crossing. And he managed to cross the road safely there, so I hope his mum and dad are proud. Now, Phil Egan is with us next. We're going to talk Champions League. First, we wanted to show you this. Despite last night's comfortable Champions League win, Graham Souness was very critical of Man City's summer recruitment on Virgin Sport last night. Have a look.
No doubt it will hurt them. I thought going into the game against Norwich at the weekend, they'd be okay. They'll be fine against the due respect to Norwich, the lesser teams in the Premier League. But when they play big teams in this competition and in the Premier League, they'll come unstuck. But they look dodgy at the weekend. You go back to the end of the season, they've lost 3 centre-halves. Company, for me, arguably was still the best defender when he was fit. And the Porter going out. And then Stones, who, they're still waiting for Stones to really settle in and get his decision-making better than it's been. Because he has everything, all the equipment to be a top player. It's going to hurt them. And the spin that Pep's putting on it is that, these are big players, we will deal it, we've got a strong squad. You're now down to the bone. So if Fernandinho doesn't do the business there, there's a new signing who's a big old lump, the midfield player at the bottom. Rodri come in and play there because he's
Fernandinho, I think, is the one he's talking about. He used them there before. Yeah,
but Brian,
whatever combination they've used, whatever combination they've used, when it's been the pair that played at the weekend, Otamendi and Stones, they've been the worst combination of any of the 4 combinations they used last year, and that's probably not going to get much better, that pairing. Stone's out now. It's going to be one of the centre midfield
34
players.
could fall over at any time with a muscle injury. When you get the wrong side of 30,
really would think the resources and the money they've spent. I mean, they wouldn't spend the money on Harry Maguire.
If he could turn the clock back, Tom, he would. He can't admit it. Of course he wouldn't admit it. They should have pushed the boat out and got Maguire.
OTB AM on OTB Sports Radio, Ireland's first and only sports radio station.
The Sport Ireland campus Blanchardstown is the home of Irish sport, not just for our athletes but for you in the community. Check out our amazing offers for families with kids camps, sport academies and birthday parties. Or for adults, why not join our gym with a 50-metre pool? Or your club, school, friends can book one of our world-class indoor or outdoor facilities, including our athletics track, soccer, basketball or badminton courts and many more. Check us out on sportirelandcampus.ie.
Join Bruce Betting now for a risk-free first bet up to €100. That's right. New Irish accounts can enjoy a risk-free first bet up to €100. So if your first bet loses, we'll refund your stake with a free bet. Now that's giving you more. Bruce Betting. In store, online and now on your phone. T's and C's apply. Please gamble responsibly. See dunlewy.net.
OTB AM.
Yeah, you can see more of Graham Souness, of course, on Virgin Media Sport, which is over 400 UEFA Champions League, Europa League and international matches live this season and all available to all Virgin Media TV customers. You can also download the TV Anywhere app and stream all the action whenever and wherever they like. Phil, we were just saying there in the ad break, it's hard to know what to watch last night because there was too much good stuff on.
I didn't watch a full match. I watched the first half of the Manchester City game and then that game was done. I wanted to see this new look central defensive pairing of Fernandinho and Otamendi, but they didn't lay a glove on them.
No.
And then I watched PSG and Real because I wanted to see. It was 2-0 at half time. I was like, I thought Real were meant to be getting their act together, but they were hopeless. They were outplayed, outfought. PSG, the masters of the group. If the trophy was handed out for group wins, PSG would win it most seasons.
PSG should get rid now officially of Neymar. Say, okay, we're selling you to whoever at Christmas, and you're not playing for us again until then.
Yeah, he was there last night sitting beside Mbappe.
I saw that.
But I wonder what happens when he plays a home game. Big European home game.
Does he get booed or do they love him?
I think he gets booed.
I'd say fans love having Neymar in your team. You'd rather have him in your team, wouldn't you?
It depends.
If you're Tuchel, you don't need him. You don't want him.
No.
But if you're a fan, you're like, I've paid my 60 quid to get in to see this game. For a Champions League game, it's probably a bit more.
Yeah.
Well, I want to see one of the best players in the world do his little show pony tricks.
He has to hit the ground running, though. If he comes in and has a bad game, he's going to get slated. Sure. If you have one bad game, you get... Andy Robertson's deactivated his Twitter account because he gave away a penalty. He's been unbelievable for Liverpool, and he's had to deactivate his Twitter account just because he gave away a contentious penalty.
Yeah.
That's ridiculous. But that's the way it is now. If you have one bad game...
It's surely not the Liverpool fans, is it?
See, it's Twitter.
Liverpool fans on Twitter?
It could be. But, Klopp has lost games in previous seasons, and you get the phone in saying, it's time for Klopp to go. That's unfortunately the world we live in now.
I presume those guests are literally put on so that there's you generate text and
they're
debate.
The people that exist on Twitter as well.
And also that the presenters can beat the crap out of happily, safe in the knowledge that this is a victimless crime.
Yeah, absolutely. But if Neymar does come back in, they brought on Choupo-Moting. And that was the final insult for Real Madrid. You're 2-0 down, and then Choupo-Moting comes on. But they got the third goal. Di Maria was very good. Idrissa Gana Gueye was excellent. And they tried to get him in January. They couldn't get him. They went back for him. And you kind of wonder if he had been playing that night against United, there wouldn't have been that little collapse. But saying that, though, as comfortable as it was for PSG, Benzema put the ball in the net to make it 2-1 in the second half. And it was disallowed because Vasquez had got involved in the play and he was in an offside position. But if it had gone 2-1, it wouldn't have been a surprise if PSG
had collapsed.
Yeah, I just don't trust them.
If Bale's goal had gone in and been allowed?
I think more so the second half goal. But there's just something about them that when it gets to the knockout stages that it could be a quarter final or even last 16. It depends on how the draw goes.
You can't. That's fair enough, right? Totally fair enough on the basis of history. But this is a new season and a new team.
Yeah, you said that last season. They had no right to lose that game or that tie to United, but they still managed a way to do it.
Yeah. In very weird circumstances.
Yeah, but the thing is, we'll say, I wouldn't be surprised if we say that later in next year when we're talking about PSG going out. What happened in the Barca game?
Are you saying
6 goals? And it was, that's crazy. That'll never happen again. Then they concede 3 goals to a United team that at one stage
isn't very good.
No. So, yeah, they find ways.
What else in the Champions League last night do we need to tell people about?
Well, we'll talk about Manchester City. Obviously, they won 3-0 away to Shakhtar Donetsk, 2-0 up at half-time thanks to goals from Riyad Mahrez and Ilkay Gundogan. Gabriel Jesus then got the third goal for Pep Guardiola's side. The only Premier League team to win their opening group game because, obviously, Liverpool lost to Napoli, Chelsea were beaten by Valencia, and Spurs drew 2-2 away to Olympiacos. Despite leading 2-0 after half an hour, Harry Kane scored a penalty. Lucas Moura doubled the lead, but Daniel Podence pulled one back for the Greek side just before half time. I got in for the second half of this game, and I had seen that Spurs were 2 up, and I thought, they're cruising here. And Olympiacos came out with all that hope in the second half because they scored just before half time. Very similar to the Arsenal game, where Spurs are 2-0 up, concede just before half-time, changes the whole dynamic of the game. And then Olympiacos were very good, got the penalty, soft enough penalty. Big Sam said there's no such thing as a soft penalty when he was the Everton manager, but Valbuena put it away. And then Olympiacos were quite happy to sit in and pick their moments, but Spurs had chances. There was a chance where Dele Alli, he actually could have squared it for Harry Kane, took a shot on. Lamela tried to take one on at the near post. Again, didn't pass. Harry Kane was fuming.
Away draws are not a disaster, though.
They're not. And if you look at Spurs' away form in 2019, it's dreadful. 5 away wins from 17, and I'm including Tranmere as one of those 5. The only games that they've won on the road in Europe were the Borussia Dortmund and Ajax ones. They beat Fulham as well. So since the end of January, they've only picked up 2 away wins.
Yeah, there's something, I don't know. We were talking about
it's very strange. Even the team selection. Davinson Sanchez playing as a right back, and you've got Kieran Trippier playing for Atletico Madrid.
Something weird happened where he got annoyed and he's on his way. I think he's on his way.
Yeah, no, I know yourself and Kieran were talking about it earlier, and yeah, he's saying a lot of the wrong things that doesn't sound like a manager that's in for the long haul. He's been there for the long haul.
He's not Alex Ferguson.
No.
Like, I'm in charge of this club.
Yeah.
Like, and he wants to be.
He wants to be. If only there was a club like that.
You know, who desperately needs somebody with his iron will to bend to.
I'd say watch that space.
Right. This is your last shout for this. The Boys Sports World Grand Prix of Darts returns to City West Convention Centre from the 6th to the 12th of October, all this week on OTB AM. With thanks to the PDC, we're giving you the chance to win the ultimate darting experience. You and a guest will win 2 VIP tickets to the Boys Sports World Grand Prix final, plus a night stay at the City West Hotel, including breakfast, on Saturday, the 12th of October. Tickets can be purchased at ticketmaster.ie. Just search darts. Share the show and tell us who won the PDC World Grand Prix in 2016. What else have we got?
Just some of the other results in the Champions League last night. We mentioned Manchester City, but the other game in that group, Dinamo Zagreb hammered Atalanta 4-0. In Spurs' group, then Bayern Munich are top. They won 3-0 at home to Red Star Belgrade. I mentioned Atletico and Juventus finished 2-2. Juventus were 2-0 up in that game, so that they do say 2-0 can be a dangerous lead. It proved to be that case for Juve and for Spurs last night. Tonight it's about the Europa League. Manchester United, Arsenal, Wolves, Celtic and Rangers all in action. We know United are going to give young players a chance in this competition. They host Astana at Old Trafford from 8 o'clock. 17-year-old striker Mason Greenwood will start. Axel Tuanzebe will start. Sergio Romero, the goalkeeper, will start, and Fred will get a run out of midfield as well. They're in Group L with Alkmaar and Partizan Belgrade. Then Arsenal are away to one of last season's beaten semi-finalists, Eintracht Frankfurt. That's at 5 to 6. I should mention the United games at 8. Arsenal are in Group F with Vitória of Portugal and Standard Liège. Wolves welcome Braga to Molineux. That's an 8 o'clock kickoff. Besiktas and Slovan Bratislava make up Group K with them. Celtic are in France to play Rennes. That game is at 5 to 6, and they're also in a group with Cluj and Lazio, and it's Rangers at home to Feyenoord in Group G. No doubt there will be a tribute to the former Rangers player Fernando Rickson, who died yesterday at the age of 43 after his battle with motor neuron disease, and probably fitting that as a Dutchman that they're playing a Dutch club tonight. Porto and Young Boys are also in that group as well. Porrick Harrington parred his first 2 holes on day 1 at the BMW PGA Championship at Wentworth. Open champion Shane Lowry, who's a great record in this, 4 top 10s at Wentworth, so he certainly loves the course. He's in a group with Rory McIlroy. They've just teed off. Spain's Gonzalo Fernandez Castaños, the early leader, and 2 under. And just finally, big blow for the Clare Hurlers. All-star forward Peter Duggan is not going to play next season. He has just done his degree. He did business and sports management in LIT, and he told the Clare champion that he is going to go travelling.
Right.
He's going to go travelling to Australia for the year.
You're going to see a good bit more of this, I think. Like, people are beginning to realise that you have a limited amount of time that you can actually do the type of things where you don't have kids and you don't have a mortgage and you don't have responsibilities, and you can give that to a life of senior inter-county hurling or football.
Get out there
if
and
you
see
want.
the world. Look at Owen Sheehan. He's having the time of his life in Japan. You gotta go out there and see what's out there.
I mean, you can do what the Dubs did. Like, several of them have taken time out. Some of them didn't make it back in, some of them did, but like, I don't think any of them regret leaving.
No, and it's in, like, he was such a crucial player for them last season, Peter Duggan.
Sensational, yeah.
Yeah, well, I say 2018 season, but he's he said it's just something that he wants to do. His family have always kind of had that in them where they like to go travelling, so he said, I want to do it.
Thing to have.
Absolutely, yeah.
And if he does come back, he'll come back wise and ready to go again. Good stuff, Phil. Thanks very much for that. So we've been giving away a daily prize of a tickets to the semi-finals of the darts, and today's winner is Suzanne O'Sullivan on Twitter. We'll be in touch. Well done, Suzanne. So we're asking you to share the show and tell us who won the PDC World Grand Prix in 2016.
The World Grand Prix. Okay, I was trying to think. So was it Gary Anderson maybe, or Mighty Mike seems to win it all the time? I'll go Van Gerwen.
I think Van Gerwen is correct. On the crappy quiz, I might have said no. You have to take your first answer.
Yeah.
But
we were talking about this in the office yesterday because Daryl Gurney won it one year. Van Gerwen is the most recent winner. But it's as I've said on this event, it's great night out, and the later in the week you go as well, the better.
You were saying quarterfinal night is class?
Yeah, you get the 4 quarterfinals. Yeah. Usually you get to see, well, depending on how it all goes. The double start makes it tricky, where you can get upsets, because if you can't hit your double, you don't get away, and that's when legs can become quite one-sided.
The Boyle Sports World Grand Prix of Darts returns to City West Convention Centre from the 6th to the 12th of October, and we'll be giving away the big prize on tomorrow's show. The new OTB Rugby World Cup show today is live at 12 o'clock. You can get that on OTB Sports Radio or on offtheball.com, where we're live all day, every day on the Go Loud app as well. It's on YouTube and all the other usual OTB spots. Off the Ball is back on air and online from 7 o'clock tonight. OTB AM is with you from 7:30 a.m. tomorrow. You can also podcast the show and watch it back on YouTube and offtheball.com. The rest of our Heineken Road show is coming your way across today and tomorrow. It's some really great stuff in that. We'll talk to you a little bit later on, and I'll see you tomorrow. Good luck.